Welcome back, you beautiful souls. This is a continuation of a new one, but from what I gather, a lot of you enjoy this one. This is the next installment to the What If All Might was Deku's father. So where we last left our first story, Inko and Toshinori had moved their family into the same neighborhood as Endeavor, so that it can be more secure. Hold up one moment, I've lost my place on my notes. Sorry, I lost my place in my notes. So in this one, there's a few things that I'm going to change about Endeavor. Because, Endeavor doesn't really, particularly like All Might or Inko, but he sees, how strong All Might is in canon, but with Inko being far above All Might as far as, from, what public view sees, he's more tamed in this. And when I would say Inko does have a quasi-friendship with him, they're not gonna hang out, but she has, spoke to him how he interacts with people. And the whole conversation that has happened with All Might in Season 4, Inko has kind of had with him at an earlier point. And I am going to use the theory that Dabi is All Might's lost child. But after he disappeared, because this would have put Shoto at an age where he has been being trained by his father. But I'm going to say he really does care about he truly does care about his family. And when his older child kind of ran away, I'm going to say he ran away when he was 8, or when he was, it would be when Shoto's 7, 8 years old. And I would say this happened before Shoto got his scar, or right around the same time. Or, yeah, this would happen before, because how I want to do this. So, his older one of his older children runs away from home. He calls Inko and Toshinori up in hysteria, and they're asking us, they're like, Todoroki, what's going on? And so Endeavor explained the situation, and they tell him to calm down, and basically they help look for him for a good while, and nothing ever really came up. But during this time, one of his children running away from home, because I would say Dabi, when he was a Todoroki, basically told his father, I can't fucking stand you anymore. Fuck you, I'm leaving. And basically ran away from home. And Inko kind of talks to Endeavor and has she's basically changed him for the better, and she explains to him, our daughter like, our daughter is effectively quirkless, but we don't push her. Like, we're letting her become her own person. Like, yeah, we're giving her some training in hand-to-hand combat, but you've been kind of overdoing it with your kids. And this is when Inko says, and I'm pretty sure you need to sit down and talk with your wife. Because I would say Inko may have, like, interacted with Rei shortly after the disappearance of Davi. And she basically informs him that your behavior has really made her sketched out, and if you don't fix your relationship with her, you could potentially lose your entire family. So over the years, she has seen a few of the Todorokis, but never really, I would say Izuka has seen the Todorokis, but never really interacted with them. Simply because the time that she would have been meeting them, they had pretty much lost their one child. So at this point in the story, I would say that things between Inji, I believe it's either Edgy, like Inji, or Eje. Todoroki is Endeavor's actual name, but I'm pretty sure it's Inji. He has, the relationship between him and his wife is kind of rocky, but after Endeavor, basically comes up to her and literally freaking breaks down in front of her, crying and everything, and apologizing, it took her aback, and her hatred for her husband is lessened, and he basically, he basically tells her, I'm sorry, Inko, Yaki Inko, she opened my eyes to some things. I'm ashamed that I have been mistreating you, Rei. I did initially marry you, arrange a quirk marriage to produce a child, but I realized that was wrong, and it's I care about my kids, Rei. By extension, I care about you because you gave me my children. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And if you don't want to be with me, fine. I will file divorce paperwork if you want. But do know I do love you, Rei. And I'm sorry I haven't been such a good husband to you. And I haven't been a good father to Fuyumi, and this is when he looks down and he's like, I'm sorry about our second youngest. Or no, 1 minute. Yeah, it would be second youngest, because I believe they're oldest. They're oldest. In young Shoto. And I know you're afraid of me, and things are going to change around there. If you don't want to do something, you don't have to. And if you don't want to see me, then don't. But I beg you, don't take your anger out of me on our kids. They're already going through too much. And I promise you, Rei, I'll change. I'll become a husband you're proud to, I'll become a man that you're proud to call your husband. So I would say this had taken place, um, I would say a year before Izuka's awakening. So that being said, with that little bit of backstory, we cut to our story. Inko and Toshinori are moving in. They have basically gotten the moving truck unloaded with a little help from, well, Toshinori really doing more of it, but Inko basically standing there kind of helping Izuka with her abilities. Basically using this opportunity to kind of help her out with her telekinetic abilities, and Hisashi has moved most of it, albeit the small objects, and the heavier objects he went to go lift, and Inko kind of yelled at him you're still recovering. If you want to help out, carry this. Me and Izuka will get the rest. Your number one job right now, sweetie, is to take care of your injury. So, after they get the truck unloaded, and I would say the movers have left, they have unloaded the kitchenware, at least at this point. And Izuka's basically up in her room, her new room, she's still upset about her father's injury. And this is when Izuka hears a knock, and she's like, you can come in, Dad. And he comes through the door, and he's in his small might form, because he's not powering all for one throughout his whole body. And that's the cause of him actually having his buff form and everything. And she's like, Dad, are you really okay? I'm sorry for causing this. And Toshinori basically grabs his daughter and says, baby, it's fine. This is just basically lifting his shoulder and saying, sweetie, this is some of the dangers of being a pro. Every day we go out there and we put our lives on the line. And Izuka's like, I know, Dad, but when I saw you in the bed, something happened. And Toshinori is taught, spends a good hour with her, basically comforting her and explaining to her them moving isn't her fault. And Izuka says, is it okay if Kachan, if she comes over a lot, because I really would like to hang out with her. And Toshinori begins to laugh, and he's like, sweetie, we're not going to force you to stop hanging out with your friends, though you won't be able to go over to their place that much anymore, because Eddie looks out. I'm sorry you had to be born to me and your mother. I know things haven't been easy keeping that a secret in school and everything, but, well, sweetie, we wanted you to have a normal life. We didn't want you to go through all of this. And Izuka, wipes the tears from her eyes and hugs her father. And it's like, I've never been ashamed of you, Dad, and I've never been ashamed of Mom. It's just, outside of Kajan, it has been rough, but... And at that, the doorbell rings, and Inko goes and answers it, and she says, sweetie, I think you need to come down here. And when Toshinori and Izuka come down the stairs, like, he's holding his daughter, like, and she's basically hugging him. And he kind of sits her down, and he's like, huh, Todoroki, what brings you here? And this is when Rei walks up behind him, followed by Fuyumi and little Shoto. And she's like, he turns to Rei and he says, honey, you can do this. I need to go and, in any case, Toshinori, Yagi, I wanted to say thanks for all the help you and your wife have done over the years, and I'm sorry you had to go through that fight on your own. In any case, he turns to give Rei like a hug, and she kind of flinches, and Endeavor stops, and then he turns to Fuyumi and Shoto, and he goes to hug them, and Shoto kind of jumps back a little bit too, but Fuyumi does give him a hug, and she whispers into his ears, like, don't worry, Papa, they'll come around, and I'm in your corner. And so Endeavor leaves. Basically, Shoto and Rei are still kind of, I would say, not really scared of Endeavor, but more so worried about, weary of him. Because, for Christ's sake, the dude was a shitty husband and a shitty father for a while. And this is when Inko kind of walks up to Rei and introduces herself. And it's like, it's nice to, really officially meet you and to, I'm glad you brought your kids over. And I kind of wanted to speak with you in private. And she turns to Toshinori and says, dear, do you mind watching the kids while I speak with Rei here? And she invites Rei to the backyard. And Fuyumi's walks up and introduces herself to Izuka, and is like, hi, I'm Fuyumi Todoroki. What's your name? And Izuka, kind of looks at her with, a little bit of a blank stare. I'm looking down. I'm Izuka Yagi. It's a pleasure to meet you. And this is when Yumi basically, grabs her little brother, basically shoving him to, and it's like, don't be rude, introduce yourself. And Shoto says, I'm Shoto Todoroki. And this is when Shoto kind of looks at All Might, and he's like, and he basically goes back outside and sits down. And All Might's like, did I do something? And Fuyumi is like, it's not that, Mr. Aoki, it's just, Dad really didn't like you for a while, and I think Shoto may blame you for what Dad has done to him. And this is when Izuka, she basically begins to telepathically talk to Shoto, and he's like, I'm sorry my dad caused you some pain. And Shoto's like, what, who is this? What's going on? Izuka's like, I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time controlling my quirk. I'm sorry, I know it's rude to look at your memories, but I've seen what your dad has put you through. And Shoto basically runs back in and says, you should stay out of my mind. And then runs back outside. Mind you, they do live in a gated community, and the Yagi residence is as big as the Todoroki residence, if not bigger. I would say about the same size as the Yaoyorozu property. And All Might kind of looks down on his daughter, and he's like, sweetie, you really need to work on that. And he turns to Yumi, and he's like, I hate to ask, but can you hang out with my daughter while I go speak with that young man? And Yumi says, yeah, no problem, Mr. Yagi. Mom and Miss Yagi, they're outside talking, aren't they? And All Might's like, yeah, but don't worry about it. Basically, putting his hand on her shoulder. And then he leans down and kisses his daughter on the head. And he's like, sweetie, I'll be gone. Like, Yumi, she's a nice girl. You can, like, be nice. And so Izuka basically goes up to, like, invites Yumi up to her room, and All Might basically says you should be a good host. So All Might walks out to the front porch where Shoto's sitting, and he says, young man, mind if I speak with you? You don't have to talk, but let me just sit there and listen. So All Might basically goes into how he's heard a little bit from what Endeavor has said, and he says, don't be so hostile towards your father. He does truly care about you. The look on his face when I saw him that night when you're in All Might stops. He's like, well, let's just say he really does care about you too, about his kids. And Shoto's like, he only cares that I have a quirk that's a perfect fusion between his and Mom's. And this is when All Might says, that's not true, young Todoroki. He just didn't know how to deal with the fact that, well, he was trying to make you better than me. But give him a chance. At least give him the chance to prove that he's changed, young Todoroki. If not for him, can you do it for me? And Shoto looks at him. He's like, All Might, I don't blame you. I'm just upset. Like, he's been weird this past year. And All Might's like, that's because when your older brother ran away, he was scared that he understands that he was the cause of that. And I'm sorry you had to go through all that when you were younger, but how about this? If you ever feel like he's being too much or anything, and I will have a talk with your father about this too. If things become too much, you're always welcome to come here. And I'm sorry my daughter, she read your mind, but no, she didn't really mean that. It's only been 2 weeks since her quirk came in, and this is when Shoto's eyes kind of go wide, and he's like, what do you mean? Like, she's your kid and Frost Queen's kid. And All Might's like, yeah, but she's not really. She's upset that she doesn't have good control of her quirk. I apologize for that. And he's like, how about we go back inside now? And Shoto's like, yeah, well, okay. So now we cut to the conversation between Rei and Inko. So Rei and Inko are out on the back porch, and Inko's basically says to her when they get out there, and she brings tea, and she's like, Rei, he's hit you before, hasn't he? And Rei's like, no, he's never physically assaulted me. It's more so. And Rei kind of breaks down, and Inko's like, you do know he does care about you, right? And Rei's like, I don't know. It's just, he's been mentally abusive, and, well, I don't know if I can ever forgive him, but I've been staying with him for the sake of our children. And Rei begins to, like, really cry, and Inko kind of walks over to her, and his comforter is like, well, the night when he called us up, and me and my husband met him, the look on his face, and what he told us, he really is sorry. Now, I'm not saying you need to forgive him for his actions, but is it possible that you can potentially give him a chance to prove that he's a changed person? You don't have to forgive him. And if things are bad to where you need to split from him, know that, well, if he ever does do anything, you and your kids are always welcome in our household. And Rei kind of looks at Inko, and she's like, why would you do that? And Inko looks down, and she breathes in. It's like, I know what it's like. And Rei's like, what, All Might has done some of the stuff he's with you? And Inko's like, no, that's not what I mean. My parents' relationship wasn't the best either. And I know what your kids have gone through. And I'm not telling you to stay with him for the sake of your children, but MG, he is remorseful for what he did to you. And what he's put you through. And Rei kind of breathes a sigh of relief, and she's like, well, thank you. And Inko's like, well, I hope we can be friends, because, well, we are kind of neighbors and everything. Should we get back in? And when Inko gets back in, like, Rei is shocked to see Fuyumi, like, Shoto, like, kind of laughing. And she's like, sweetie, are you? And when Shoto turns to her, she kind of looks away. And then Shoto kind of looks down. And Izuka's like, Todoroki, is everything okay? Like, in his mind. And Shoto's like says, didn't I tell you to stay out of my mind? And Inko, like, Izuka's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And this is when she looks at her mom, and they kind of have a conversation, and Inko's like, you know it's rude to, like, read other people's mind without their permission, right, sweetie? And Izuka's like, I know, Mom, I'm still having a hard time. but and Izuka like stops and she's like, I promise I'll try to get that under control. So that being said, they have their pleasantries, and Ray basically gives them, like, before they leave, she's like, oh, I almost forgot. And she pulls some stuff out of her bag and hands it to them. And Inko says, what I, like, tells her telepathically is like, what I said to you outside, I meant it. And so now we cut to about a year later. Izuka has been getting training from her mom to control, like, her telepathic abilities. Basically, Toshinori has basically been homeschooling her. And once a week, she has telepath training with their mom. So she's gotten a decent control over her abilities, to where she won't really have an episode unless she's under a lot of mental stress again. But she's able to, like, control her telepathic abilities to where she's not just reading someone's mind without their permission, kind of. And through her training with her father, because I would say Toshinori has, like, spent over the years, like, taught her some hand-to-hand combat. And she has really he's seen a few things, like having her go in and out of her diamond form. And one day she's in her diamond form and she turns to her dad because he goes to, like, buff up and he starts coughing up some blood. And she's like, Papa, are you okay? And Toshinori notices that she didn't speak and she's in her diamond form. And he's like, sweetie, did you just... And Izuka's like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad, I didn't mean to. And All Might's like, sweetie, I'm not upset about that. Your mom can't even do this. And she's like, what do you... And she's actually speaking. She's like, what do you mean? And so Inko, like, when Inko gets home that afternoon, like, he tells Inko what had happened. And Inko's like, what? And he's like, yeah, but it's weird. When she goes into her diamond form and she goes to use her telepathic abilities, like, it's weird. Like, her form's different from yours. Like, it's clearly diamond, but her hair's kind of normal. And it looks more like mine, as he begins to laugh. In any case, tomorrow's a big day, isn't it? And she's like, yeah, like, I'm a little nervous that Izuka won't be able to make friends. And Toshinori's like, what do you mean? She already knows the young Todoroki boy. And from my understanding, he's going to be in the same class as her. And Inko looks at him and is like, don't tell me you. And Toshinori's like, sweetie, I didn't pull any strings, okay? It's just, I kinda asked what class should be assigned to, and who was in it. We can't be too careful with our daughter's safety, you know. And Inko's like, fine. So we skip to the next day, and Izuka basically, it's her first day at school, and she's nervous. And when she's there, a girl kind of walks up to her because this girl sees the look on her face, and she's like, hi, you're new, aren't you? And Izuka's like, yeah, this is my first day, and well, I'm kind of lost, and, well, I don't want to use my quirk to find the place because my mom said, like, using our telepathic abilities to read other people's minds without asking is rude. And this is when the girl says, what? Your quirk's telepathy? And Izuka's like, oh, I'm sorry. My name's Izuka Yagi. And you aren't? And this is when the girl says, well, my name's Momo Yaoyorozu. It's a pleasure to meet you. Well, let's see what your schedule looks like. And they look, and Momo's like, oh, you had the same homeroom as me. Well, it's this way. And Izuka's like, thanks, I was really sweating it. And so they get to their class, and this is shortly before class starts, and she sees a familiar kid, and her eyes kind of go wide, and Momo sees this, and she's like, what is it? And she's like, I know him, isn't he? And Momo's like, wait, you know him? And she's like, yeah, he's Endeavor's son, right? And Momo's like, yeah, but he's kind of a loner. So Izuka walks up to Shoto and basically says, Todoroki, it's nice to see you again. And I'm sorry about when we first met. I wasn't really I couldn't really control my quirk. Even Momo hears this, and Shoto just says, it's fine, Yagi. I'm sorry I blew up on you. I didn't mean to make you feel more uncomfortable than what you did. So, but if you don't mind, I kind of want to be with myself. I want to kind of keep to myself while I'm at school. And a lot of the girls are looking at this. I mean, a lot of the other kids in the class, including Momo, are like, what? Because Shoto doesn't really talk to people unless it's, like, school-related. Like, if he's asked by the teachers to do something, or someone asks him about, like, a math problem or something like that. He'll answer them, but as far as small talk, he won't really speak or interact with people. So, Momo Yaoyorozu says, well, your name's YG, and the seating charts, we go by alphabetical order, so you're pretty much sitting next to me. That's awesome. So they take seats, and Momo says, so how do you... Shota, you said that you couldn't control your quirk when you met, so you guys have known each other since you were little kids. And Izuka says, no, I met him a year ago. And Momo's like, wait, what, you're a late bloomer? And Izuka's like, yeah, I don't really like talking about it, if you don't mind. And Momo's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And Izuka's like, it's fine, it's just... let's just say I didn't really have a pleasant awakening. And Momo thinks this is weird, the choice of words. And so the teacher comes in, and she's like, it's a pleasure to see you. And the teacher's like, it's a pleasure to see all of you again. Some of you may notice that we have a few new faces here this year. Well, just like every year, looking at a few of the other students, I like going around for people to do introductions. So it goes down the lines, and Shoto, like, it comes to Shoto, like it comes to... It gets to Shoto, and he's like, Shoto Todoroki, I I don't mean to be rude, but I'm really only here to go to school. I'm not really here to make friends. But I hope we can all get along and have a good school year. Momo introduces herself. Or, yeah, Momo would introduce herself because I would say the teacher would see the nervousness on Izuka's face. And then, like, as Momo comes up to the front stairs, the teacher basically goes and takes her seat and talks to Izuka. And she's like, Izuka, young Yagi, pay attention, but talk to me. And Izuka looks at the teacher. And this is when the teacher, like, Izuka's looks at the teacher, and she's like, did you just, like, kind of out loud? And then the teacher's like, shh, quiet. And the teacher's not moving her mouth. And she's like, yes, I'm speaking to you telepathically. I'm kind of the reason why you're in my class. I know who your parents are. And if you don't want to say who they are, you don't have to, sweetie. Just know that us here at the school, we take pride in our students. And I know what you went through. And Izuka's like, kind of has a tear go down her face, unbeknownst to everyone else. And the teacher basically like tells her, like, if you don't want to introduce yourself, that's fine, but I think some of the other students would like to know who you are. So it comes to the end of the list, and Izuka stands up and is like, my name's Izuka Yagi, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm sorry, but I'm not really, like, I didn't have a good time when my quirk came in, and well, I'm sorry if I say or do things that are a little weird. Kind of bowing. And this is when she comes and sits back down. Momo kind of leans over to her and is like, so you have telepathy, right? Talk to me. Is it one way or is it two way? And Izuka like tells her in her mind, like, I'm sorry for doing this, but it's actually a two-way. Like, we can talk back and forth with each other. So the whole day goes by, and Izuka, like, she comes home and she's smiling, like, and she's unintentionally, like, when she gets home, just kind of putting it out. I met a friend, I have a friend, I have a new friend, I have a new friend. And he, like, All Might says, sweetie, what's going on? Sweetie, what's going on? And Izuka looks at her father, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad, I didn't mean to. And he's like, no, what? So you met a new friend at school today? And she's like, yeah, I met a girl, like her family, like Momo Yajirozu. She's really cool. And well, do you think it would be possible if she could come over one day? And All Might's like, sweetie, you know that's... I'll talk to your mother about that. And we do have to look into her. So Izuka's like, yeah, Dad, I'm sorry about that. And All Might kind of runs up to her and grabs her and is like, baby, it's not your fault. It's just with it's our fault. With our profile, people could potentially want to hurt you because of us, and we apologize about that. So Izuka smiles and is like, I don't blame you, Pop. I don't blame you, Papa. I don't blame Mama. I don't blame Mom either. So with that, this is where I'm leaving this part off with. I hope you subs and viewers like this. There is one thing I need you guys to do. Comment down below one of these three things. Older, 1A, or other. And this is for the ship, because there are 3 people that I have in mind for those. Don't be commenting names, because I won't really accept that. It's a choice between older, 1A, or other. That being said, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful souls in the next video.